of the Clemson Dubcast, Thursday, June 9th. What a week involving Clemson football recruiting. I think our pal, former intern, current editor of the Seneca Daily Journal and podcast listener, Riley Morningstar, said it best. He can't ever remember a week like this with just this many fireworks. When all this settles, I can't wait to sit down with Paul and just pick his brain on how this all went down, when he sort of saw it coming, and all that good stuff. Hey, he might be worth a podcast in its own right. Anyway, all this stuff is continuing, it appears, so never a better time than right now if you are a Clemson recruiting junkie to be at TigerIllustrated.com. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAM law.com. Solero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Okay, to our conversation. Former Clemson football player Patrick Sapp. What's it like to be sending his son to Clemson? Son Josh Sapp, tight end. What's it like to be have another son about to start kindergarten? Oh, the wisdom Pat is going to be able to dispense in a few years. Here we go. Enjoy. All right, joined by Patrick Sapp, who is about to say goodbye to Josh, your son, in, I guess, a week or so?
Well, it's end of June.
End of June. Okay,
so
I got you.
The 23rd or somewhere up in there that Sunday he reports. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that time is going to go by fast, and I don't know, how my emotions will be on that day, but I'm excited about it. He is definitely excited and ready to go and join the Tigers, but I'm happy for him.
You participated in the Clemson 30 series that we did for about a month and a half, and I thought it was really interesting the insight you gave, or wisdom, I guess, in saying you're about to say, we got one that's about to start college and another, Miles, who's about to start kindergarten. And so I was fascinated by the wisdom you have, and I said, I imagine that has to be a lot. Not that you didn't have fun with Josh, but now that you're just in a different place, it has to be a thrill to raise a little kid, even at your old age.
It is, man. I enjoy it. As a parent and as a dad, I've always enjoyed the part of teaching your kids, right? And just them being, inquisitive and asking questions, and you see their growth and their, wisdom and smarts continue to grow. But I enjoy that part. And yeah, being an older parent and more stable in your life at this point, as I am, I enjoy all of the small moments, man, and all of the small times that we share. And he is, two kids being raised, kind of sort of in the same house with two different personalities. Josh was wild and crazy, and Miles is laid back and just a different spirit, a gentle soul. But I enjoy every day with him. I enjoy his wisdom and watching him grow. But man, it is definitely different. But I would say different in a better way because, I'm not chasing it like I was. I'm not, doing as much moving around as I was with Josh, trying to just establish life and that kind of stuff. So I get a chance to enjoy the quiet times and the small moments with him.
Can you help paint that picture of what it was like when Josh was little and you bouncing around to different places trying to establish a life?
Yeah, man. I mean, I just had retired from football and I came back to Clemson to get my degree. And so I came here without him for about a year until I graduated. And then boom, when I started working at Clemson, he came here with me right after graduation. And so you can imagine, man, I'm trying to establish a career outside of football and being a dad of a 3 and 4 year old and taking them to pre-K and picking them up and trying to, get folks to kind of help me do that. So it was, I like to say, Josh really did more for me than I did from him as a dad because, you learn every decision you make, how you spend your money, how you spend your time, all your choices, your kids should be at the forefront of those decisions. Who you date, all that kind of stuff, who you marry. And so, he really did that for me. He really slowed me down and really made me a better man and a better person because of it. But, I can remember my doctor is my friend. And every time he got a fever or a cough, I was at the hospital. And he was like, look, man, you can give him some Tylenol. You don't have to bring him in. But I'm like, he's not breathing right. He don't sound right. Something's going on. And so he kind of helped me through that part of it. And I can remember, being a young dad too, going in the room in the middle of the night just to see if he's breathing, just that kind of stuff. But so that's, I got through that period, but just trying to pour as much as you can into your kids. And Josh taught me that. And I'm going to do the same thing with Miles, really enjoy watching him grow into a young man.
What is this few months or whatever leading to Josh going to Clemson? What have been his objectives? What have been his goals a place he wants to be sort of physically, maybe even learning, some of the scheme and all that when he gets there? What have they given him? Can you maybe shed some light on what that process is like in the pre part of a freshman before he actually gets there?
Man, I can tell you this, even though I've worked at Clemson as long as I have and been around the program as much as I have, I'm still learning things about, how Coach Sweeney and that staff, do things. And, they still send him mail like he's being recruited in a sense every week, man. He's getting things, letters about this. He's getting, pictures of him being drafted in the first round. All these things that continue to motivate him and continue to include him in the family. They're still doing it, even though we've committed, signed, and we're reporting, but they still are sending those touch points every week. I think that blew me away. But he's kept in touch with his coach. Him and coach talk a lot. They've kind of told him what they think and how they want to use him, things they feel he needs to work on. They want him to get faster. They feel like they'll build the strength, once he gets there. And he's going to, his objective, he's been doing that. I mean, he works out every day. He's killing it. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of the effort that he is putting into that craft and his opportunities. And so one thing I've always been impressed about him is his work If you say let's run 5 hours, he'll say, okay, let's run 5 hours. And that's as much as you can hope for as a parent with your kid, is that they give effort, right? And so he's doing that. He's put on weight. He's probably 235 now. He's been working on his speed and his strength, and that's all he's been doing. But he's gotten information on, how they run the corner routes, at what depth do they run the corner routes, how they, their stance, their starts, all those things that you want the athlete, once they get to your program, to be able to do, so that you can now actually coach them up from a game plan standpoint, and teach them all. If you got to teach all those little things on how you're doing things, then, they're behind. So he's not an early enrollee. So I think it was good for him to really focus and learn that part of it, so that he can go there and hit the ground running and see where things fall. I can tell you this: if you ask him, he wants to go in and he wants to start right now. That's the way he's preparing. But if that don't happen, he's fine. If he get redshirted, he's fine. He's going to continue to work, but he's going in as he wants to go in and compete. And so that's it. That's his approach to it.
Early enrolling is so popular now. Did he entertain that at all?
He did. And we discussed it a lot, to be honest with you, because for a while he was going to do it. And then for a while he wasn't. And for a while he wanted to do it. And we kind of went back and forth. And, we kind of went through the pros and cons of it, and kind of his development, right? And he felt like he wanted to develop a little more outside of the program before he got in the program. And I know for some people that may not make sense, but he felt like he needed to be stronger before he got in there with his peers. He needed to work on his speed and get faster. His body needed to mature a little more. And so that's the approach that we took with it.
And I assume when you say he's been talking to his coach, that means tight ends coach Kyle Richardson.
Yeah, he's been talking to Kyle a lot, and those guys, kind of strengthening and building that relationship. And again, those guys are detailed guys, and I know that means a lot to Josh that he does that with him. And I hope he's asking the right questions of coach, and I hope they're communicating the right way. But I think they are, and that's something that I think is really helping him in his off season to get where he needs to get to.
Yeah, it's such a close relationship with Tony Elliott, obviously, over the years, and even during a lot of Josh's recruitment. What was it like creating the relationship with Kyle, learning about him, and him sort of enlightening Josh and you on what he's going to bring to the tight end room and to the offense as a whole, even?
Well, the versatility is really what they are looking at and they are thinking about with Josh. Being able to have one guy that can quote unquote do it all, can play and block in the box, flex out, and get some one-on-one matchups and catch the football and that kind of stuff. A guy that they can move around without having to change personnel and substitutions. It's kind of how they see him. He played the same way in high school. He played in the backfield. He ran the ball from the backfield. He played the H-back. He played the Y, the traditional tight end position, and also he flexed out. So that's the way that he's looking at it. And I think, if he can continue to work and build his body to where it needs to get to, I think he'll be able to do the same thing once he gets there.
I think it's pretty common nowadays that, head coaches will give titles to their assistants, kind of essentially like a raise, just a raise, and it's really kind of I don't know, assistant head coach, things like that. Even director of recruiting nowadays is kind of doesn't have the strength that it used to have, because you have a whole army of you have a whole separate division inside your office that is responsible for recruiting. Richardson was named the passing game coordinator And after a conversation with him during the spring, that wasn't just a title. It's something that he's really involved in talking with him, and it really sounds like they're working hard not to junk the old offense, but to really freshen up the current one, and to maybe eliminate some of the stagnation that occurred not just last year, but maybe previous years as well. Have you been able to get any insight into that? Just do you have a feeling on that, on his involvement in it?
I mean, I know he's really involved in it. I know some of the direction of some of the staff that works with the offense. They've been studying a lot of offenses around the league, the NFL, and how to use the tight end and how to use different personnel groupings, as well as some college team that does it successfully. So I know that they are actively trying to improve that position and its usage from the tight end position. But overall, I think you're right, to add the vertical game element to it, as well as flooding zones and doing different things with the offense. So they're putting a lot of time and energy, resources, and efforts into really doing that. And I think, they have the personnel to do it. It's already there, from the quarterback position, receivers, tight ends, running backs. So I think, people will see a different look from the Tigers this year.
What do you make of this sort of juncture within Clemson football history? I guess the Dabo football history is really like Dabo 2.0. Venables and Elliott are gone. They struggle a lot last season, and it really feels like, Dabo's not necessarily gambling on the promotion from within thing, but it definitely feels like an experiment. What is your feeling on where they are right now, and sort of this juncture and how, I guess, monumental it is?
Right. I think most of us that have some football knowledge can look at it and say that, yeah, it's somewhat of an experiment, because these guys are, you really have a staff on the offense side of young coaches that are somewhat proven from a statistical standpoint, and some experience, but they haven't seen everything out there because they don't have that much experience. So you could say it's somewhat of an experiment, but again, it's about the judgment. It's about knowing the people you work with every day. And I think we all have to trust and believe in that Coach Sweeney understands who those guys are and what they can do and what they're capable of, to make those changes and make those decisions. And I think, again, I said this before, but I think this is refreshing in a sense. This is probably one of the best things, as we probably look back at this, that could have happened for Coach Sweeney. Because now, it's almost like taking a new head coaching job without leaving the team or leaving that school or university. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're starting over with a new staff in a sense. And so those new challenges, it kind of perks you up. It gives you that renewed energy, that competitiveness mindset. When you've been successful for so long and with the same thing and doing it the same way with the same people, that can become a little bit less challenging and a little boring. So I think it's kind of lit the fire under some guys around there. And I think those guys will be successful. I know all of them personally. I know they're people of integrity, and I think you can't substitute hard work and hunger. So I think they're hungry. I think and I know they work hard, and they'll figure it out. We're gonna be some bumps. It's not gonna be smooth sailing, but it's going to improve and improve and improve. Like anything else, that when you're trying to build something that lasts, it doesn't happen overnight. You kind of have to build it from the foundation up. And so I think they will be fine.
When your son's a part of a recruiting class, you over time. You're with these other players. You're around their families. You see things. You feel like you learn about the players' personalities. And I remember you sharing with me maybe last December about what you thought of Cade Klubnik and just being around him. And you were so impressed with him at his the way he carried himself and just what he was saying, what he was doing. And I'm just curious for your if you can share some of that insight that really gives you excitement about what he brings to this program.
Well, I just think he's a natural leader, and I know people say that sometimes, and I know people, think that that's somewhat a cliche. You don't have to be a leader at that position, but the first time I met him was at Clemson at a recruiting weekend, and we were sitting up in the stands watching the game, and he got there and his family a little bit late, but he just left his family, came right up to Josh and Randall and all those guys, and just his energy and enthusiasm, introduced himself to me and all the other people that was around. And it's just natural, right, for him. And so as I watched that, and then as I watched the way that he moves around, once we went down to eat at halftime, and just the people he talked to and how he just carried himself, you can just tell that's just in him, right? And just the things my son have said, they all in a group chat and text, and he's always in it. He's always working. He's always engaging all of them all the time in their class. And they think the world of him. And I always say, man, your peers are your best judges of you, right? And so if they feel that way about him, and they've only interacted with him for, a year or so, and they already give that to him and how he operates with the players that are older than him, man, I just think that is a great sign of somebody to lead your program.
I mean, I was at the Daniel High School basketball game, I think in January, watching a neighbor's son playing for their team, and here comes Cade Klubnik. He's hops up in the stands. He's there. He's watching and supporting his future teammates, Lawson and a few others, and he's into it and going back. Not he's sort of yelling at calls, not in an ugly way, but sort of he's into it as a competitor. Yeah. And I was like, good grief, he just got here from Texas, and he looks right at home. He looks like this is exactly where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's what I'm telling you. That's what they all say about him. And that again, you can't fool your peers. You can't fool the guys that you are in that locker room with and spending that time with, and they think that the world of them. And so most of the time when that happens, that's a true statement. It's true.
Are we coming down too hard on DJ Uiagalelei when we say, wow, Cade has a lot of the qualities that DJ did not show last year, intangibly, leadership-wise, and maybe even physically as well with what he can do on the field? Is that fair?
I would say that is fair that we have given him too much criticism. Mm-hmm. But with that, you're talking to a former quarterback, and one of the most valuable things that Stock said to me, Rick Stock said, my quarterback coach, my freshman year is, I think I had a great game against North Carolina. We beat them. They was ranked, beat them at home. And, I got all these great write-ups and NFL future and all that. And he was like, look, he said, don't be reading those clippings. He said, because when you win, you're going to get too much credit. And when you lose, you're going to get too much blame. So the best thing is to be right in the middle all the time. I'll never forget that, right? Because as a quarterback, so much of your success is dictated to what happens around you and your teammates. And so we got to remember all of the injuries that Clemson had this year on the offense side of the ball, all of the injuries they had up front from the offensive lineman standpoint, and at the receiver position and the running back position, so all those things affect him. and his play. Now, and so you could look at his decision making, you could look at throws that he missed and all of that. Yeah, you could put that on him, and he should be to blame for that. But you don't understand the preparation of practice when people aren't missing, when you don't have your right receivers there, when you're playing. It's a huge difference from that starter to that third guy, and sometimes that second guy. And so you can't underestimate when you're working with ones and working with these guys and they're getting the reps, and all of a sudden now you got a different guy in there. So those are the things that people may not quite understand that affects the way he played, that affects the way his mental is in a game, and how that affects decision-making and throws and being comfortable. So I'm not making excuses, because, I mean, he is definitely a talented kid that could play in the NFL, that's going to play in the NFL. But we can't throw all of the lack of success on him. I mean, it's a total team thing, and I think every coach will tell you the same thing.
This time 4 years ago, when Trevor Lawrence came in and Kelly Bryant was the starter, it felt like it was only a matter of time before Trevor was gonna overtake him. Trevor was just that talented, that ready-made as an elite quarterback. You don't think we're in the same situation right now, and it's probably not fair to Cade to say that it's the same situation to compare him to somebody like Trevor Lawrence. But I'm just curious. I kind of think this feels like a different situation to me, in that this feels like it's going to be a battle, and it doesn't feel like one is just by far capable of being by far better than the other.
Yeah, I agree. I think those two scenarios are different. They're the same in that you got two talented freshmen, the best in the country coming into your program. But it's not a big difference in the talent level of DJ and Klubnik right now. Now, I think DJ still has a lot of growth, right? That he has to attain in order to be great. Klubnik has the same thing. He has a lot of growth that he has to go through too. So I think it's going to be DJ's job to lose. Now, I would add, if I'm being truthful and honest, I don't think he has a lot of room for mistakes in this process before, a change be made or controversy starts. So I think it depends on how the offense gels, in the first 3-4 games next season, for that decision to kind of be made.
You know Tony Elliott really well, correct?
Yeah.
How hard was last season on him?
It was tough. It was tough, man. Because he took a lot of the blame. And again, fans pay money. And I always say that the good and the bad, the double-edged sword with Clemson is people love it. Our alumni, our fans love Clemson. The bad, and it's a family feel. The bad thing about family feel like they can tell you what the hell they think and feel all the time, right? And so that's the bad about Clemson. Especially you might not understand the situations. A coach can never come out and say, we not doing this, we not doing that, and should not, and put it on someone else. You should take the blame. You should say, yeah, I got to do better. Yeah, I got to make sure this happens. But when you know football and you done been in it, you can know that, man, that all that wasn't on Tony, and it was unfair. I don't know a lot of people work harder than that guy or put as much methodical thinking into what he's doing. I coach high school football, and I do a lot of our passing game stuff at Greenville High. And I could tell you when we have an injury, And I know we don't have near the depth and talent Clemson have, but we have somebody go down as a starter. The way you have to game plan and things you have to do, it drastically changes. And sometimes you can't be as explosive or game plan as aggressive as you can because you just don't have it to be able to do that. And so, but I can't come out and say this new kid that's starting is not up to par. I just got to say, you know what? I got to do better. I got to do better as a coach. And I feel that, So I know on him, I know it bothered him. I know, it shook him because you can be loved 1 minute by so many and so many great compliments and so many pats on the back. And then all of a sudden you should be thrown in a trash can by the same people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are, that is going to affect you and bother
you. You said, it's funny, you said the family thing, where, the negative is that when you're within that family, you hear opinions from family members about something. What is it being you? You were around the program at the beginning, and obviously have a good relationship with Dabo. What is your relationship like with him? I mean, I don't think you're ever afraid to share your thoughts with him and opinions on things.
Nah.
What is? Can you describe it? What the relationship is like? Because I mean, we know that sometimes he, with opinions from others that he doesn't agree with, sometimes he reacts pretty forcefully. But I'm just curious to hear what it's like, sort of more behind the scenes with somebody he's close to when you try to offer some constructive criticism.
No, we have a great relationship, man. I mean, I know we respect each other a whole heck of a lot. And we've had deep conversations, and we've had conversations about a lot of things. And you're right. I mean, I don't mind sharing with Coach what's on my mind or things that I think or feel. And he's the same way, but I think I care for him a great deal, and I respect him a whole heck of a lot. And I think it's the other way around as well. You respect me a lot. But over the years, we've had some great conversations and great things. And sometimes it ain't always a positive conversation. But we respect each other. If I call him today, trust me, he'll get back to me sometime today. That's just how he is as a man anyway. But the respectability is there. And I mean, and he's seen me raise my son over the years. He's known Josh since he was young, from me bringing him around Clemson and that kind of stuff. But great friendship, great respect for each other, man.
So when I talked to you last week for the article, it was one of the questions was your thoughts on the state of college athletics with the name, image, likeness, and the transfer portal. You gave your answer, which was a really good answer. And then I hit stop, and then we sat there and talked for about 25, 30 more minutes about it, which actually is how this podcast idea was hatched. You have a really interesting perspective on it. Where do you think, what's your one sentence sort of take on where things are right now with NIL and the portal and the velocity of change being so rapid right now? I guess I said one sentence. It doesn't have to be a sentence. I mean, we got plenty of time.
I was going to say one word, chaotic, but no, I would say it definitely changed the landscape and how we view and how we live and how we are affected by collegiate sports, right? And it is so many changes at one time with very few parameters around it. And I think what I disagree with is the lack of parameters around it. I agree with the portal. I agree with NIL. I think it's good. I think it's great for young men to, as early as they can, understand their value and their brand about who they are, decisions you make, how it affects you and your life. You know, college hides that sometimes. And I think equating the economic value to who you are, what you do, how you carry yourself, I think that's the closest thing to real world that we can have, right? You know, and so they're getting that lesson. The problem is it's brand new. It's almost like the Wild Wild West, that anything can almost go at this point. That you're going to get more negative happening right now than the positives are going to show. And we're going to have to live with that until we kind of can wrap our arms around this.
How do we wrap our arms around it? And in as much as like to the point of having the barriers that you mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, I think by far easily the universities have to be allowed to have the ability to advise these young men and women at some levels. Right now, they can't. So I think that needs to be in place. Now, we can put that generic, we can do something quick and fast to where we can then understand this down the road. But right now, it has to be some parameters that the university can have some say in, some arm or some advice in it. And then we need to be able to, universities, you know, hire folks that can just deal with this issue and deal with what's going on with our athletes with that. And I think a huge part of that is understanding money and the economics of money, right? And that $1 million is not $1 million. You're about to lose 39% of that in taxes right now. You know what I'm saying? And so you're not rich for life. You know, those types of things that the universities can do that. Now, right now, all you got is outside entities that are filling that void. And most of those are agencies and agents, which you don't want that involved. But hey, they're not dumb. They're smart. They're business people. They figuring it out. And they're going to jump in there because if I can get a relationship with a DJ right now, a Klubnik right now, guess what? More than likely, I'm going to have him as a client in 3 years or 4 years, or however long it is. So that's who's running the business right now in a lot of ways. That's not a good thing.
If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy, used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith & Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union? If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. 3 years ago at this time, I remember being asked and thinking a lot about what is the biggest threat to Clemson's dominance right now, meaning this is coming off the 2018 national championship. Trevor Lawrence is a sophomore. Justin Ross is a sophomore. T. Higgins is still there. It doesn't seem like they were going to stop anytime soon. We were talking about, could they be 45-0 over Trevor Lawrence's entire tenure? And I could not think of anything at the time as the biggest threat. Like, you just thought in terms of teams, right? Like, okay, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia wasn't really on the radar at that point in terms of being a legitimate threat. Nobody thought, or at least I didn't think, NIL, portal, like earth-shaking sort of developments. Is this a threat to Clemson remaining at the top? And if so, how big of one in your mind?
I don't think so. Because I think at the end of it, we are our fan base, alumni, the market that we've established, been a national brand over the last 10 years of winning national championships, is that we can compete in that world. Our star athletes, people wanting to do NIL deals with them. So I think from that standpoint, now we might not be as rich as a Texas A&M, but we still have an interest of people wanting to work with our athletes. So I don't think it's going to affect us in that way. And then the second thing is, you can't overlook, if we're talking about football, you can't overlook what a young man's dream is, right? And if you're playing Power 5 collegiate football, I don't care if you're the kicker, long snapper, fifth string, you want to play, and your dreams is to play at the highest level. And so you still going to make decisions on where the best football is for you, right? Now, I know people may look at Jackson State and Travis Hunter going there, and he's no one recruit. And Jackson State might have didn't put nobody in the NFL in however many years. When you're the number one player overall in the country, you can go play football anywhere. And you still going to have a huge opportunity to play in the NFL. So he's the exception to the rule in a lot of it because he was the number one guy, right? And he's going to go to Jackson State and have a heck of a career and play under a coach like Deion Sanders that has all the NFL ties and knowledge, one of the greatest players to ever play pro football. So that's an attractive place to go. And so that's an exception. But it's not going to kill Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Auburn, whoever else you want to call Southern Cal. It's still going to get their guys. And you're still going to have to coach them up. And you still have an opportunity to win and get the things done that you need to get done. So I don't think it hurts us in a lot of ways because people still want to go play for Coach Swing when they meet him. Parents still want their kids to go to Clemson and become great men and leaders. And we still going to have guys drafted, and we still going to be signing talent every year in and year out. So I think we're past that point. Now, if we was on our way up, if we was coming out of transition, then yes, I think it definitely could and would affect Clemson.
But if college athletics is indeed headed toward pay for play, essentially, and if Clemson's coach has been fully on record in saying he's not in favor of that and that he'll just go do something else, and again, the question is Clemson's the threat to Clemson remaining at or near the top. Does it hurt Clemson that it doesn't have a coach who is jumping in with both feet into the whole pay-for-play world?
I think if we were not doing it, it would. But I think that was Coach, saying how he feels, being emotional about how he feels about it, and putting it out there, how he feels. But yet, our kids, our young men have NIL deals. We have a committee and a group that has raised money and raising money to support our athletes. So we're in the game. We're playing the way other people are playing. And if you don't do that, then yeah, that's a problem. But we are doing that. So I mean, the cat's out the bag, and that is where we're at, and that's what we're doing.
You think he's just sort of holding his nose and saying, I don't even want to hear about it. Just go do what you do, TigerImpact guys, and I'll just coach ball.
No, I know him well enough to know he knows what's going on.
He just plays dumb in public.
Yeah, that's one of the most prepared guys I know.
Yeah.
Trust me. He keeps that pen and pad with him all the time for a reason.
So
he's fully aware.
Yeah. With your background, you're not with Clemson anymore, but you spent a long time there with as a fundraiser. And so you have a really interesting perspective on that part of it. And the really, it's just so weird because we actually just interviewed Bobby Couch recently on the podcast. It has to be a separate entity, as you alluded to earlier, with universities not being able to facilitate it, these deals or whatever, according to state laws or NCAA or whatever. Bobby, to join TigerImpact, had to leave Clemson University like that day, like right away. And this weird sort of juncture we're at with this. I mean, I think we're moving pretty fast, and eventually, I'm guessing Bobby's going to be working for Clemson again because it's going to be housed under, it's going to be acceptable or whatever, legal to do it as a university. But right now, he's calling the same folks that he called before to solicit major gifts. What position does that put the IPTAY folks in, who are trying to, who are sort of wondering if their piece of the pie is being threatened by another, like sort of their competition, right? I mean, I'm sure some of them view it that way.
Oh, no doubt. I definitely think IPTAY is having a negative reaction to TigerImpact and what they're doing, because you're right. I know, being a part of 2 campaigns at Clemson, and you have a limited amount of resources, and I've seen this, and I have to say this because I think this, again, what's make Clemson great. I've seen people give over and over and over of their resources from a major gifts level, not just an IPTAY member, but somebody that makes major gifts to Clemson, in that $50,000 or above in each campaign, multiple years. And we've gone back to those folks over and over. So that's a good thing. But yeah, you do have a limited amount of people that supports Clemson, that is capable of supporting Clemson in a way. And Bobby being over major gifts in athletics, he had all those contacts and have all those contacts. But, and here's the but, is they're supporting the same thing, right? Clemson University at the end of the day. It may be a separate entity, it may be the same. But in all, if I'm supporting Bobby and what they're doing, I'm not writing a check to Bobby Couch. I'm writing a check to support Clemson. And if I give IPTAY, I'll buy my tickets, my season tickets, and my parking, or I'm making a major gift to athletics, I'm not just giving it to athletics. In a sense, I'm supporting Clemson University. So from that standpoint, they look at their supporting Clemson. Now, I think the way you make it work is that Aaron Dunham, and those guys, Kyle and all those guys, have a relationship and are great friends with Bobby. Bobby hired them, is to work together in how they approach potential, people that support from a major gift standpoint, and work together in plans that they put together. For instance, i.e., if I want to give $50,000, I support basketball, and I'm capable of doing a $100,000 gift to basketball, then a part of that ask is, would you support this group at $25,000 and support this group at $75,000, or support this group at $50,000, support this group at $50,000? It's all going in support of Clemson. So I think that's the way you make it right. I think that's the way that, knowing those guys the way that I know them, I'm sure there's some conversation with that that is probably being had or they've already had it. So,
as a former fundraiser of a solicitor of major gifts, what's the biggest positive and negative from that? What's the hardest part, and what's the most fulfilling part?
Raising money for Clemson?
Yeah.
Oh, the biggest is, I would say the biggest thing about it is really working with people that has really felt like Clemson changed their life, or really, I met my husband, my wife at Clemson. Coming to Clemson, I became a man, a woman. It did so much for me, from this professor or this teacher or this coach impacted my life so much. It led to where I'm at now successfully, and the success I'm having in my life. And to see the joy when they say, okay, I'm going to give Clemson $100,000, and we steward them through that process after they're given that gift, and they see the impact, and to see them get emotional about giving back to a place they love. To me, I think that was the most fulfilling and satisfying thing. And to say, well, I had a little part in that, right? I had a little part in making that connection and helping these people to really feel satisfied and soulful about giving their treasure back to a place that gave so much to them. I think for all of us, that's probably the most fulfilling part about it. I think the negative, I don't think there's many negatives in it, because again, we're raising money to impact our students and student athletes. And I think that's where our mindset is, as fundraisers, is this is all about the student experience and opportunities that we can better for them and provide for them and give them the best experiences to help them to be the best young men and women that they eventually grow to. But I can't say I had too many negatives. I think when a gift does not come to fruition that you've been working on for years, and I would say for me, for many years, probably 70 years, I worked on trying to raise money for the new chapel that we built. And, I was in the beginning of that process. The students led that process, right? They led that charge. And so I got it early on, and 2 or 3 different architectural drawings and 2 or 3 different location changes that we was going to put it on campus, and raise the money to get new drawings, and just the process of it, it kind of extended me. And I had a major donor that really wanted to support it, committed to $1 million for it, and then backed out, at the end. And so it fell flat again. I think for me, that was probably one of the toughest times for me in raising money, because I knew the students wanted this, right? It wasn't coming from the president. It wasn't coming from me. It wasn't coming from the administrator, but the students wanted this. And so to be able to deliver at during that time, I think was probably the toughest things for me.
I was talking to former linebacker Chad Carson recently, and he said they're not amateurs. He said it was a professional model even when I played, meaning when he played from 98 to 01. Do you believe that it's amateurism, or are you more in line with him that when you have coaches who are paid $12 million a year, that any notion of amateurism is out the window just by that alone?
Well, put it this way. The higher paid coaches in the college are making more than the NFL coaches.
Yep.
So that's one. Two, when you look around the stadium on game day and you see, the number 1 jersey, the number 20 jersey, those numbers are directly impacted in there because of the numbers on the field. Not just because it's a Clemson jersey, but those numbers correlate to that star player and sell because of that. Now, if you put a Clemson jersey in a store with no number on it, it ain't moving. It's not being sold. It's not going anywhere. So how is that okay? If it's not, if it's more than amateur. I mean, it is a professional model. It's just that players was not a part of the economic side from receiving economics from it. They were not. And now that's what it is. And now that's a part of it, right? And so, again, like I said before, the floodgates just open up. They didn't open it slow. It just say, hey, boom, it's all legal right now. And that's the heartache that we're suffering. And then people that talk about the transfer portal, players, and this ticks me the hell off, to be honest, when I hear people, these players aren't committed to the university. That they did not this, that they're not that because they transferred. But I don't hear nobody say that shit about the coaches that take a job and move up the ladder and get paid another $500,000 or another $200,000 and they leave like that and take a new job. I don't hear nobody complain about that. I hear people say, great move for him, or, hey, he's congratulations, coach. Hate to see you go, but congratulations. How is it any different? Because guess what that coach have said on the recruiting trail to the recruits that he's recruited? I am going to be here and I'm going to coach you as your quote unquote linebacker coach or secondary coach for the next 4 years. You sign a Clemson, I'm going to be there. I'm going to coach you up, and they're gone. So you can't have it both ways. I think the portal, again, you have 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds making their decisions about their lives in the portal. So some go get it wrong, right? I mean, I'm sure we all made a lot of bad mistakes at 20 and 21. So some will jump in the portal because of the emotions. They'll make emotional decisions. That's life. That's a part of growth. That's a part of maturing.
Something I struggle with is I guess from the pro amateurism perspective, the people who say that the value of what they have gotten to this point under the amateurism model is zero. Like, the education's a sham. They're not even going to class. They have people taking the classes for them and all this. I just can't get on board with that because I've talked to too many former players for whom the education and the degree and the experience what was and is immensely valuable and way more valuable than the money it was, the scholarship was worth at the time, because you get a job, and if you're successful in that job, that pays off for for decades. And then, so I just don't know. I mean, how much is Clemson spending per scholarship athlete on not just the education, but the stipends and all that stuff? I just wonder, I mean, you mentioned taxes earlier, like 39% comes out. I wonder, like, for the average player, if you compared the value of what they get under the quote unquote amateurism system and the value of what they would get from being paid, I don't know. I think it might be in a lot of cases that the value of what they receive under the previous system would be more.
Right. And I think, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm one of those people. I came back, I graduated 11 years, 12 years after, my freshman year. I came back to do it because I understood that my degree, one, I was like, I'm never going to be able to ask my son to graduate, or sons now to graduate from college if I didn't. So I need to be that example. Secondly, I knew that my degree meant options. So as I looked around after I played in the NFL, what I wanted to do next, where my career could go, the lifestyle I wanted to live, the things I wanted to do as a business person and all of that, I needed my degree in order to do that. Without it, I had limited options. So I'll be the first one to say that to you, right? That, no, you can't underestimate the college experience and what degree means, right? That's a huge part of the conversation. The part that I think that we have to look at from the NIL deal and not just phrase it as athletes getting paid. It's athletes getting paid for that image and likeness, meaning the value that you bring and that someone else thinks you bring, you can now be paid for it. I think if you simplify it in those terms, then you're not taking money from the university. You're not taking money, getting paid just to get paid, right? But you're actually getting paid. You're able and legally can get paid for what you bring, the value that someone else thinks you bring. And I think if you look at it in those terms and think about it in those terms, then you don't have to say one has to be mutually exclusive from the other. You get your degree, but hey, guess what? You're lucky enough to be able to also make some money on who you are as well. And I think that's how it is. Now, is it being played out that way right now? No. But I think, again, we will get to those simple terms.
It's easy to get hung up on the most sensational stories out there involving NIL, like the $8 million recruit allegedly from California who hadn't even started his senior year yet and has an $8 million deal with Tennessee. Reportedly,
I didn't even know that. $8 million?
Yes.
Wow.
That kid's probably not going to take much interest in school, I wouldn't imagine. So I mean, the farther we go, the farther we go into this, I got to think the more the farther we go from education as being sort of a linchpin around the experience for these kids. I mean, if it's a professional thing, as we're saying, then is education just an option? Or is it separate? Do they decide to run football programs as just separate from the university as like a semi-pro arrangement? I don't know. It just I sort of go ahead.
No, I definitely understand what you're saying with that. But here's one way to think about this too. Man, football has to be immensely important to a university and to collegiate athletics for people to pay $8 million for a player or $1 million or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the way to look at it too. It's like, obviously quote unquote, in somebody's mind, the market is there that we can pay athletes that amount of money to win games. So again, we're in a free society, a free market society, we're in a capitalist society. And if that's what it demands, then, I mean, it's kind of hard to, somebody thinks it's kind of hard to argue against it.
Yeah. That's what Charlie Whitehurst said. He said, you know what? He said, I'm for individual freedoms. He said, and I can't be for them in one respect and be against them in another. He said, so I'm all for these players getting what they're worth and being able to transfer, whenever, wherever.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have it okay for the coaches and the players can't do it. And you can't judge a player saying he's not dedicated or he's not whatever because he transfers. Like, I mean, that's just, people should know better than that.
You gave up one of your quotes from the article last week. You said, we're all worried about NIL money making kids different from what they are. I believe money just makes your true self come out. It doesn't change you. You are who you are. It just exposes the true person. If you're a rat, then you're definitely going to show it. You're a rat if you have some money. That's a pretty good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. And that's at every age level. I mean, that's just not young men. That's adults. That's older folks. I mean, I played with guys that I knew didn't have a penny like I didn't before the NFL, and then got in the NFL and seemed to be nice guys and good folks, and then, received money and was a turd. Like, I'm like, who is this person? Well, that's who they've been. They just didn't have the opportunity to be it, Now they have the opportunity to be a turd.
How are you advising Josh on this particular part of it? NIL, are you saying, hey, keep your head down, work hard, and if at some point, if you're successful, then you'll have those opportunities, but don't think about it right now? What's that perspective like from y'all?
Well, we've talked about it probably recently in the last year, 10 months or so, right? But we're not thinking about it from an active standpoint, like you need to go to Clemson, you need to make this amount of money. We talked about it in the sense of his brand and his name and taking care of himself in that way, not making dumb decisions, not getting in trouble. And if those opportunities come, then it will come in that process. But we're not thinking about it in a huge way. That had nothing to do with our decision about school and about where he was going. So for him, he's gonna be learning a lot when he gets there about that. I'm sure he'll see teammates that's probably making some pretty good money through that. Hopefully he gets some opportunity. But I look at it as, none of that matters if you're not playing and doing the things you're supposed to do. Opportunities like that come when you're doing what you're supposed to do, taking care of your name, contributing to the team, and being a good football player.
Patrick, I've probably overstayed my welcome. This has been yet another great conversation with you. Always enjoy going deep with you on various topics.
Yeah, likewise, man. I appreciate the conversation. I hope one day we get a chance we can talk about, kind of what we're dealing with in this country right now, man. And that's another mass shooting, another crazy thing that just, happened in Texas. So I hope our politicians, I hope our families, I hope parents, I hope everybody can understand that we all are part of the problem Therefore, we all bear in the solution. So I'm not a person that just say laws need to change and gun laws need to be this, or mamas and daddies need to do this, and the government has no bearing in it, or society has no thing. If you take care of your kids and be safe with your gun, and teachers do a better job identifying this. Heck no, it is everybody that lives in this country is a part of the dang on problem. Therefore, we all should be in the solution of these things and not point fingers at one side or other, or one person, or, well, that family must be stupid. How they didn't know their son had guns, or, well, hell, somebody sold them a gun, So it's a lot of things that we have issues with that nobody wants to take the blame. But I look at it as, hey, I'm a part of it. You're a part of it. These coaches, families, ministers, pastors, government officials, hell, the man that owns the corner store, the guys that make the damn video games, that the people that don't put money and resources into mental health, the folks that don't value someone that looks different than they do, or ridicule someone that has a different sexual preference than you do. All of us got to blame in that. And I'm just tired of people, passing the buck and saying, we need to do something, but nothing changes. That's just stupid and idiotic to me. You can't even mention gun control. When you hear gun control, then you're not Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Well, but I have my concealed weapons license. I don't believe in the Second Amendment. I also believe it's stupid as hell to be having an assault rifle, that damn automatic rifle that's killing. That's just stupid. Yeah. And I own multiple guns. So anyway, we can talk about that some other time, brother.
We will. I'm booking your appointment right now for the next one. Thank you, Pat.
Man, I appreciate you.
Always enjoy catching up with Patrick Sapp, and man, I really look forward to keeping tabs on him as he and the rest of us follow his son's journey at Clemson. Should be quite exciting. Appreciate our sponsors for their very loyal and long-standing support. And most of all, thanks to all of you for hitting play every week. Everybody be safe. Cheers.